Hi, I'm Jeff Richards, and welcome to Japan Today Spotlight. If your boss called for a meeting at 3 a.m., what would you do? Earlier this month, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi arrived at her office in Nagatocho at 3 a.m. A chauffeur drove her, security was with her, several aides were already waiting inside. An entire team on call and assembled in the middle of the night. Her reason was simple. She had to be ready for a 9 a.m. budget committee session in the Diet, she said. We got an early sign of this, Takaichi's attitude toward work-life balance, when she became the LDP leader on October 4th. Her message to the public, and I quote, "I myself will abandon the idea of work-life balance. I will work, and work. I will have everyone work like a workhorse." Not only did she draw flack for those comments, she was also criticized in the Diet for her hyperbolic claims that she only sleeps 2 to 4 hours a night, something that's not realistic or possible really for any adult. For a country that is already struggling with long hours, burnout, and unpaid overtime, this isn't a reassuring signal. Japan even has a word for it, Karoshi, or dying from overwork. This week in Japan Today Spotlight, we'll look at Takaichi's work style, the reality of Karoshi, and whether Japan is making any real progress toward a healthier work culture. Dying from overwork has a long history in Japan, but the word Karoshi wasn't coined until the 1970s. It began as a medical term for deaths caused by strokes and heart attacks that were linked to the country's excessive work hours. The International Labor Organization recognized the term in a 1978 report. And there is also another word that's used in Japanese, karojisatsu. The karo in both terms means overwork, shi for death, and jisatsu for suicide. This refers to suicides connected to long hours, heavy workloads, lack of job control, repetitive tasks, inadequate rewards, forced resignation, dismissal, and workplace bullying. Karoshi became a national issue after the collapse of the bubble economy in the 1990s. Companies cut staff. Workloads didn't shrink. Targets rose and stress accumulated. Workers were expected to deliver more year after year with fewer colleagues around to help. This era shaped the overwork culture we still see today. That dynamic has never fully gone away. The exact number of overwork-related deaths is unknown. Japan's 2024 Cabinet Office white paper on preventing karoshi gives us a window into the scale. In that year, 883 people were recognized as suffering mental health disorders related to overwork. Of those, 79 involved suicides or attempted suicides. Another 216 were recognized as having work-related brain or heart conditions. And these are only the officially recognized cases. Many never make it through the approval system. Families often struggle for years to have a death certified as karoshi. And certification matters because it gives families access to compensation and benefits. It legally establishes the employer's responsibility, and it publicly acknowledges the death as work-related rather than a private tragedy. This recognition often becomes a family's second battle. After Takaichi made her comments about working like a workhorse, people assumed she was exaggerating. She wasn't. In the Diet, she argued that workers and employers have different needs. She said some people choose to work 2 jobs to make ends meet because businesses impose strict limits on overtime, which, let's face it, doesn't solve the problem, but only exacerbates it. Most overtime in Japan is unpaid, so easing those limits would not solve the income problem. People don't undertake a side hustle because they want more hours. They do it because they need more income. A group of lawyers representing victims of Karoshi issued a statement immediately. They said her remarks were not helpful and revived an outdated work mentality. This is the kind of thinking that pushed Japan into this crisis in the first place. And this is not an abstract debate. Bureaucrats in Japan already work notoriously long hours, especially when the Diet is in session. Lawmakers themselves can often be seen dozing during those sessions. The backlash has been personal, too. The family of a former official at the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, who died in 2014 and was later recognized as a Karoshi victim, expressed outrage. They demanded an apology from Takaichi, saying she doesn't understand the pain of losing a family member to overwork. This is where her message hits a nerve. For many Japanese families, Karoshi isn't theoretical. Overwork is a grief that never ends. Japan introduced the Work Style Reform Law in 2018. Its goal was to promote healthier workplaces, set overtime limits, and require companies to provide paid leave. It also offered subsidies and consulting through the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. The law limits overtime to 45 hours a month and 360 hours a year. During busy periods, the cap can be up to 100 hours a month and 720 hours a year. These numbers already sound high. For many workers, they are far beyond what is healthy. And the punishment for violating this law? Very minimal. Companies face a fine of 300,000 yen, about US $2,000. It's cheaper to pay the fine than hiring more staff. Legally, overtime must be paid at premium rates, 125% for standard overtime, 150% beyond 60 hours a month, 135% for holiday work, plus night work premiums. Reality is different. Surveys show that fewer than half of workers receive full overtime pay. Many employees still stay after clocking out or taking work home without any compensation. This is called zangyo, meaning overtime, but it more often becomes service zangyo, free, unpaid labor. The law came after several high-profile suicides drew national attention. One was Matsuri Takahashi, a 24-year-old employee at advertising giant Dentsu. She died by suicide on Christmas Day in 2015. This was after months of grueling unpaid overtime. Investigators found Dentsu had violated the Labor Standards Act. Her final email to her mother said, "Work is unbearable, life is unbearable, thank you for everything." Her death became a symbol of what Japan was trying to fix and what it still struggles to confront. Critics say Japan's overwork culture is too deeply rooted to change quickly. The 45-hour cap is meaningless on paper. It's still common for employees to hide their true working hours. Current labor shortages make the situation even worse. Construction, trucking, logistics, manufacturing, and teaching all face shrinking workforces. Fewer workers simply means longer hours for those who remain. Cases of karoshi still appear in the news, often involving major companies or government ministries. These workplaces are skilled at hiding their questionable practices. They're known as black companies in Japan, places that job seekers avoid. Dentsu is a continuing example. In 2017, 2 years after Matsuri Takahashi's death, the Labor Ministry warned the company again for pressuring employees to work excessive overtime. On Christmas Day that year, Matsuri's mother released a letter saying, "Another Christmas spent without Matsuri has come to an end. I feel as if my daughter's life and dignity have been trampled on once again by Dentsu." It was a reminder that reforms on paper don't always change what really happens at the office. Takaichi says she wants to ease restrictions on overtime. Tomoko Yoshino, leader of Rengo, Japan's largest trade union group, says that can't happen. She argues the limit is already too close to the threshold that raises the risk of karoshi. Yoshino says Japan is still only halfway toward eliminating karoshi entirely. The bigger question is whether Japan can create a system where people can balance childcare, caregiving, daily life, and work. A system where taking leave doesn't hurt a career. A system where rest is normal, not a luxury. That will depend on business leaders and politicians. The message from the top matters. Work more and work better point to two very different futures. Personally, I would feel much safer and more confident if my train conductor, bus driver, or airline pilot were working on more than just 2 to 4 hours of sleep. Madam Prime Minister, the next move is yours. And please, get some sleep. Your constituents probably feel the same way as I do. Thanks for watching Japan Today Spotlight, and from the Japan Today newsroom here in Tokyo, I'm Jeff Richards. See you next time.